A racial hoax is a hoax that occurs when someone fabricates a crime and blames it on another person because of race, or when an actual crime has been committed and the perpetrator falsely blames someone because of race. The term was popularized by Katheryn Russell-Brown in her book, The Color of Crime. Racial hoaxes, white fear, black protectionism, police harassment and other macroaggressions. A racial hoax can be performed by a person of any race, against a person of any race. According to Russell-Brown, racial hoaxes against African Americans are most likely to receive media attention and create a more acute social problem, due to the criminal black man stereotype concept. Patricia L. Broome argued that the common stereotype of criminal black men has enabled the use of racial hoaxes against this group. Broome writes that these stereotypes cause law enforcement agencies to believe that a black perpetrator exists when in reality the allegation is false. Russell-Brown argues that racial hoaxes are devised, perpetrated, and successful because they take advantage of fears and stereotypes. According to her, white-on-black hoaxes are the most likely to receive media attention and to cause social and economics problems. She argues that anyone performing a racial hoax should face criminal charges, particularly if a black person is targeted, and that hoaxes targeting black people create more severe problems than those against other racial groups. Letha A. C. in Violence as Seen Through Prism of Color sees the hoax as a unique method used against specific racial groups, rather than against individuals. Sally S. Simpson and Robert Agnew suggests that the unusual nature of some racial hoaxes can cause them to be dismissed. Between 1987 and 1996 in the United States, Russell-Brown documented 67 racial hoax cases, and notes the following. 70% were white-on-black hoaxes. More than half were exposed within a week. Hoaxes are most frequently used to allege assault, rape, or murder. Hoax perpetrators were charged with filing a false report in about 45% of cases. These cases represent only a fraction of the total number of cases because racial hoaxes are not reported as such and most crimes are not covered in the media. According to Russell-Brown, a high proportion of the white-on-black cases were performed by police and judicial officers. She documents 7 such cases. Historically, the most common type of hoax performed against black males was rape, because of fears over the black rapist. Russell-Brown suggests it is not surprising that so many white women have created black male rapists as the fictional criminals. In the United States, there has been little legal response to racial hoaxes. Russell-Brown wrote that only New Jersey considered legislation to criminalize racial hoaxes. Cases: Jesse Anderson, Indiana, 1992. Jesse Anderson became infamous for stabbing his wife Barbara E. Anderson 37 times while in the parking lot of a TGI Fridays in Milwaukee. Anderson blamed 2 African American men for attacking him and his wife, and even presented police with a Los Angeles Clippers basketball cap he claimed to have knocked off the head of one of the assailants. When details of the crime were made public, a university student told police Anderson had purchased the hat from him a few days earlier. According to employees at a military surplus store, the red-handled fishing knife which was used to murder Barbara was sold to Anderson only a few weeks earlier. Police stated that the store was the only one in Milwaukee that sold that type of knife. Anderson was shortly thereafter charged with murder, found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment. Charles Stewart. The case of Charles Stewart is often cited as an example of a racial hoax. On the 23rd of October 1989, in Boston, Stewart and his pregnant wife Carol were driving when, according to Stewart, a black gunman forced his way into the car and shot them both, hitting Carol in the head and Stewart in the body. Carol died later that night. The baby, delivered by cesarean section, died 17 days later. Still alive, Stewart drove away and called the police, who conducted a search of Mission Hill, Boston, a mostly black area. Stewart picked out Willie Bennett, a black man, from a photo lineup. The police shifted their attention onto Stewart when Stewart's brother Matthew told them that Stewart had committed the murder, and when they noted inconsistencies in Stewart's account. On 4 January 1990, Stewart committed suicide. The police later learned that Stewart had committed the murder to cash in on his wife's insurance policy. Susan Smith. In October 1994, in South Carolina, Susan Smith drowned her sons by putting them in her car and letting it roll into John D. Long Lake. She called the police and stated that an armed black man had hijacked her car with her two sons inside. After an extensive manhunt, Smith confessed that she had killed her sons, and, in July 1995, was sentenced to life imprisonment. Tawana Brawley. Tawana Glenda Brawley gained notoriety in 1987-88 for falsely accusing 6 white men of having raped her. The charges received widespread national attention because of her age, the persons accused, and the shocking state in which Brawley was discovered after the rape. Brawley's accusations were given widespread media attention in part from the involvement of her advisors, including the Reverend Al Sharpton and attorneys Alton H. Maddox and C. Vernon Mason, 3 other African Americans. After hearing evidence, a grand jury concluded in October 1988 that Brawley had not been a victim of rape and that she herself may have created the appearance of an attack. Stephen Pagones, the New York prosecutor whom Brawley had accused as being one of her assailants, successfully sued her and her 3 advisors for defamation. Duke Lacrosse case. The Duke Lacrosse case was a criminal investigation into a 2006 false accusation of rape made against 3 members of the men's lacrosse team at Duke University in Durham, North Carolina by Crystal Gayle Mangum, an African-American student at North Carolina Central University who worked as a stripper, dancer and escort. Many people involved in or commenting on the case, including prosecutor Mike Nifong, called the alleged assault a hate crime or suggested it might be one. Ashley Todd McGing hoax. In October 2008, Ashley Todd, a volunteer for the U.S. presidential campaign of Republican John McCain, falsely claimed to have been the victim of robbery and politically motivated physical assault by a supporter of McCain's Democratic opponent Barack Obama. The story broke less than 2 weeks before the 2008 United States presidential election on November 4. Todd later confessed to inventing the story. After surveillance photos and a polygraph test were presented, she was charged with filing a false police report, and entered a probation program for first-time offenders. University at Albany bus attack hoax. In January 2016, 3 female University at Albany students of color, Alexis Briggs, Asha Burwell and Ariel Agudio, gained national attention when they accused 10 to 12 white men and women of harassment and assault, and that racial slurs were used by the perpetrators while riding a public CDTA bus. The hoax triggered campus protests. The 3 were eventually indicted by grand jury and arraigned for 10 misdemeanor charges, including assault, attempted assault and false reporting, along with a violation for harassment. Furthermore, the university expelled Agudio and Burwell and suspended Briggs for 2 years. With regard to the victims, police testified that victims of the assault did not come forward at first as they feared for their safety, and 2 students withdrew from the university, including a female who withdrew out of concern for her physical safety. and a male who was threatened on social media by, among others, Burwell's brother Tyreek Burwell, a tackle for the San Diego Chargers.